Republican Westminster mayoral debates. My name is Dave Carpenter. I'm Vice Chair of House District 29, which is part of Westminster in Jefferson County.
And I'm Patty Sue Femright, Chairman of House District 35, and we're the Adams County side of Westminster.
Yeah. Again, thank you very much for coming. We'd like to send a special thank you to Dr. Dallenbach and the Pillar of Fire for allowing us to use this facility tonight for this forum. And I'd like to introduce Dr. Dallenbach now. He's going to do a quick invocation, and then we're going to do then we'll lead you in the Pledge of Allegiance. So, please stand.
So we want to welcome all of you. I'm sorry it isn't cooler. If you were a candidate, you'd have some air blowing on you, but maybe they'll cool you off when they come up with their proposals. I'm very happy to have you here, and I was thinking I've always been a Republican, never have been any other affiliation. I was given a copy of a prayer that he would like to have shared at this time, and I think it's a very fine one. It was written by Frank Pavoni. Let us pray. Oh God, we acknowledge you today as Lord, not only as individuals, but as a nation, and a government. We thank you for the privilege of being able to organize ourselves politically, of being able to organize ourselves politically and knowing that political loyalty does not have to mean disloyalty to you. We thank you for your law, which our founding fathers acknowledged and recognized as higher than any human law. We thank you for the opportunity that this election year puts before us to exercise our solemn duty not only to vote, but to influence countless others to vote, and to vote correctly. Lord, we pray that your people may be awakened, and let them realize that while politics is not their salvation, their response to you requires that they be politically active. Awaken your people to know that they are not called to be a sect fleeing the world, but rather a community of faith renewing the world. Awaken them that the same hand lifted up to you in prayer and are the hands that pulls the lever in the voting booth. The same eyes that read your words are the eyes that read the names on the ballot, and that they do not cease to be Christians when they enter the voting booth. Awaken your people to be a commitment of justice, to sanctify marriage and the family, to the dignity of each individual, each human life, and to the truth that human rights begin with human lives beginning, not one moment later. Lord, we rejoice today that we are citizens of your kingdom. May that make us all the more committed to be faithful citizens on earth. We ask this through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
God bless you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, please be seated, and I'd like to introduce our moderator for this evening, former State Representative, the Honorable Robert Ramirez.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome this evening. I have to start off with something very important. Out in the audience is my lovely daughter, Lauren. Lauren, stand up. This is Lauren, my lovely daughter. Thank you. She was my inspiration for running for office a couple years back, and she's my inspiration for what I do now. And I'm here tonight to announce my candidacy for mayor. I'm just kidding. I've taken myself out of politics for some time, and it's an honor to be here for these three gentlemen, which are all three very good friends of mine. And I don't say that tongue-in-cheek. I don't say that in the manner you hear, maybe John McCain saying Bill Clinton's his good friend. These gentlemen have been there for me when I needed them, and I hope to be there for them individually when they need me. So, gentlemen, tonight, this is all about you, and this is about what the public wants to hear. So without any further ado, I'm going to get started. First of all, I'd like to say we do have a couple dignitaries here. I would like to say hello to the Honorable Mary Dobman, former state representative in Colorado. Everybody give her a hand. We're lucky to have both treasurers here this evening. We have Bridget Grimm and Tim Coffey. And then last, but very close to our hearts because he deals with our children, Ruben Pacheco, school board member in Adams County. Thank you for what you do, all of you. It's so hard to not make this about me. I'm working on it. We're going to start off tonight, and kind of the way it's going to work is I'm going to ask one question. You each get 2 minutes. The first one, your opening statements, I'm going to give you 3 minutes. After that, if there's any rebuttal, I'll allow it, and I'll say it'll be 15 seconds. We good? All right. You got it, Mike?
I got it.
Mike's our timekeeper. He's going to tell you you got 5 seconds left. At the end of the 5 seconds, I'm going to start talking. Okay. So we'll start. I'll be nice. I'll let you guys use the microphone on your opening statements. Scott, if you would like, since we're just doing order, if you would like to stand up and give kind of a brief synopsis of who you are and what you'd like to do here.
Thank you very much for having us here tonight. Appreciate the opportunity to talk to a lot of people here, and quite impressed with the turnout tonight. So thank you. I am finishing up my second term on City Council. I ran for school board back in 1995, successful at that point, served 2 terms on Adams County School District 50, 4 years as president of the Board of Education. At that time, we had Dr. Mike Mazzarotti was our superintendent, and I had the privilege and honor to go on a superintendent search and hire Dr. George Strafas, and he was superintendent when I finished out my second term at Adams County School District 50. I took a couple years off, did not get into politics, kind of recuperating from that, worked on something that I had as a hobby, which was garden railroading, ended up as the president of the Denver Garden Railroad Society, and helped with a national convention here in Denver, Colorado, and the surrounding communities. We had people from all over the world come and look at backyard railroads. If you haven't got into that, it's a real neat hobby. At that point, Ed Moss, who was mayor of Westminster at that point, was appointed as a district court judge, and he left for that position, and Nancy McNally moved up to mayor, and that left an opening in city council. I applied for that position and did not make it, but at that point the blood was starting to flow again and felt the urge to get involved. So I became a member of the Transportation Commission for the City of Westminster, served on that committee, and as I was on that committee, I started attending city council meetings, study sessions, did that for over a year before I finally decided to run in 2005, and won that election and filled my 2 terms. My beautiful wife, Terry, is in the audience. Terry, raise your hand. She is the smart and the brains behind me. Like I say, behind every man there's a great woman, and she is my wife now for 1,248 days, and you can tell her that I keep track of that because I gave her an anniversary card on her 1,000th anniversary, and she thought she forgot something, but she hadn't. I just counted by the days. Between the 2 of us, we have 7 children and 7 grandchildren. The 8th one is on the way. We live in West Cliff. Our 2 youngest boys go to Stanley Lake, involved with them through their schools. They would be here tonight, except one of them is singing the national anthem there at the football game. So that's where they are tonight. Adam is part of the youth advisory panel and takes
a lot of activities and takes care of what the youth panel does for the city council and advise us on how the young kids perceive our city. Did I go over?
I told you
Okay.
you were over at 2 seconds.
2 seconds. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next up, Councilman Herbage.
Thank you, Robert. Good evening. As Robert said, I'm Herb Ashton, for those of you who haven't had a chance to meet. Tonight will be an opportunity for you to judge each of the three of us on what we bring. Each one brings their own ideas and creative activity for what they think the Westminster will be. For me, I've been doing this for about 30 years now with the city of Westminster. Like most of us, I started out in the boards and commission process. I started out with the Permits and License Board, served on that board for 16 years, and served as chair for 10. From there, I went to the city council and served 2 terms. And like anybody in Colorado, once you get elected, you have a doorstop in front of you that says you're going to stop after 2 terms. But I didn't finish my involvement with the city. After I left the city council, I went back to the Special Permits and License Board for about 1.5 years until an opening came up on the Planning Commission, and then I went to the Planning Commission. From there, I took a hiatus from the city because I opened up my own consulting business, and I wanted to be free to do that and not have anyone issue that I was doing something with the city at the same time I was trying to bid on work. From there, I decided in 2011 that I wanted to try the city council again. So I ran for election and came back, so I'm in my 3rd term. I am not term limited at 2015, I can still serve another term. However, what I bring to the city is an opportunity that we have roughly about 1,000 acres of land to be developed that is not including the Westminster Mall. My background and experience in project and construction management and doing land development, doing economic development, and doing site selection for companies that look for places to bring their buildings, their headquarters, their employees. That's over 30 years of experience doing that. I bring that to the office of the mayor if I'm successful. I'm looking to have us go forward. We have made 2 attempts to hire a master developer for the city of Westminster, and neither one of them have turned out to be viable. We're in a planning process of what to do with the mall. And by the end of the year, we hope to have announced what that plan is going to look like. My background and experience, I think, helps bring that. Part of my project management responsibilities, I've managed projects with a value of over $400 million. That's equivalent to about what it will take to rebuild the mall. And we are not calling it a mall, we're calling it an urban center, because we hope to make this a downtown for Westminster, a place where we will return the viability that used to be the mall back to Westminster. That used to be the heart and soul of Westminster as far as the tax base. But because of the previous owner's reluctance to invest in it, we lost that. So what I'm asking for you tonight is to listen to each of the candidates. Weigh heavily on what they tell you and how they answer your questions. And when you leave, make a decision. Whoever you decide to support, get behind them, support them. Remember, whoever is leading the council is going to lead 3 new members who have no experience on the council, 2 remaining members, and then we will have to make a decision on how the city goes forward. So thank you for your time tonight.
And actually, my predecessor in the job that I was in, Councilman Bob Briggs.
Thank you very much for being close to where I grew up. In 1943, when my family moved to Westminster, we lived right across the street. And so we had the opportunity to enjoy this view. I, however, didn't get to the top of this building until 1992, when we were celebrating the 100th anniversary of the dedication of the cornerstone here. And the Westminster Presbyterian Church started because of the Westminster University, which is this building. And this is how we got Westminster got its name, from this university. My grandkids will tell you that I said that I had to walk from there to 72nd and Lowell every day. And they think that it was uphill both ways, and I was barefoot, and it snowed. But I don't know where they got that idea at. You know, the advantage of going through the schools here and living in this community, we had a greenhouse at 68th and Pecos, and we run that for 20 years, and then I was an association manager, and during that period of time, I also got involved in politics. Ended up being an Adams County Commissioner, and it was the efforts that we had during that 4 years of office that led to closing down Stapleton, expansion onto the Rocky Mountain Arsenal, and it was that movement that created what we call today Denver International Airport. And if we hadn't have done that, all of those planes going into there from the west going east would all be flying over Westminster. So most people don't understand the impact that had, but there would have been 3 runways, 80th, 72nd, and 64th. And so we had some impact. I've had the opportunity to be on the RTD board. My first RTD meeting, we approved 3 minor things: T-Rex, Fast Tracks, and Union Station. All of those are the key to our transportation infrastructure that's going on today. Had the opportunity to be elected to the State House, and my first bill was a bill that was to change the way that the pest districts got along with each other, and the fellow party members down there hijacked that bill, and I became the only person in the state that is now the official state pass for the state of Colorado, Bob Briggs. So, you know, I've been around and I've done a lot of things, and it's fun stuff. If all of you have that handout you see on the last page, you don't think that was fun? On the last page, you see my picture with Ronald Reagan. He was here in 1980, and I've been in politics a long time. All right.
That way I can hide behind it. All right, let's get to it. Gentlemen, thank you for your opening remarks. Some of the questions are very basic, some are in depth, some of you have expertise in these areas, some of the areas, and some have expertise in other areas. The first question, and Herb, we're going to start with you. What are your top priorities for the city, and what is your full vision?
I think one of the things that we'll be looking at, and it's with the current council as well as the new council coming in, will be what we do with the Westminster Urban Renewal Center. That is a major financial investment for the city going forward. If I can get Robert to quit playing with Mike. There you go. Thank you. Anyways, I was saying the single biggest financial piece that we're dealing with right now is the Westminster Urban Renewal Center. We've got close to $40 million invested in that project already. We've got 4 years of time that has passed since we took ownership of that, and we have to do something to get it turned around. Now, what's going to drive that is not only what we're trying to do with it, but how we can convince developers to come in here along with their finance partners to invest in it. And what we do in the planning process will help drive that. But what will have the most impact is how does the economy continue to improve enough to make somebody want to invest in the neighborhood of $400 to $500 million over the life of the redevelopment of that project. That's probably the single biggest financial burden that we are facing with the city. After that, we want to look at what we're doing with our infrastructure. Keep in mind, the city's over 100 years old. We have infrastructure that's been in the ground in excess in some places of over 50 years. How are we going to redo that? The city is not going to get land-wise any bigger. We have to make do with what we've got. We're landlocked. So the investment that's coming in has to be with people who are willing to sink money into Westminster to create sales tax that can pay for those infrastructure changes and those upgrades and make us a viable city. Because once we're built out, it's the sales tax that we generate and the regeneration of shopping centers, revitalization of those that need to be reworked, and an increased participation by not only the citizens, but people who are willing to bring and put money into this city. Those are going to be the primary things that I'll be pushing for over the next 4 years.
Y'all can hear me just fine. Bob, you're next.
I have 4 priorities. The first is rail. Herb talked about the importance of the redevelopment of the new Westminster downtown. But that cannot really take place unless we have rail to that location. And that will be determined by our friends at RTD. And I'm working now on a solution with them. This last Wednesday, I was in Cheyenne seeing what is being built up there that will impact that station. If we can convince Union Pacific and Burlington Northern to put the Burlington Northern traffic on the UP tracks, that frees up the Burlington Northern tracks for passenger service, and that makes our redevelopment happen. Second thing is that redevelopment. It's very major that that happen, and there's a lot of things that we can do to help that. And I think that we can bring to that table some opportunities to bring tourists into the area. There's opportunities to have residential development, retail development, and office buildings there. And so all that has to be tied together very, very well. The third one is we have a rail station that will be in our community in 2016, and it's called the Westminster Station at 70th and Irving. The redevelopment that is starting to take place around that station is major. The 42-acre park that's on the south side of the tracks is going to be a marvelous activity center for the city that will give us a lot of opportunities to have events that all of our citizens can come to as well as others. And then the fourth thing that I'd like to see is a healthy Westminster. One of the things that I got involved with early on was the open space trail system. And today we have over 100 miles of trails on our way to 250. Walking, living healthy, doing community gardens.
It's gonna be time, Bob.
Is that?
We got you time.
All right,
That's it.
thank you.
Scott, just because it's been a while since I said it, what are your top priorities and what's your vision for the city of Westminster?
Well, thank you. A lot of what you heard. We all three sit on council. We have gone through strategic planning, and it's no secret that that strategic plan is developed through council. So the redevelopment of the old Westminster Mall site is a top priority, has to be a priority for the city. We've been working towards this goal for many, many years to redevelop that shopping center, and we had to first create other areas of revenue. And that's why the Shops at Promenade came online, that's why Orchard came online, and we got those shopping centers up and running, and then it was time to tackle the Westminster Mall, and that's what we're doing now. We have tried a couple developers, like Herb said, and we were being put into a corner, so to speak, by them, and not being able to have the flexibility with the retail, and they also didn't see the same vision that the city of Westminster thought, both city council and the input from citizens, because we've had several opportunities online and meeting places to where the citizens can go and give their input. I strongly believe in those, and that's something that I would continue, is that I want to hear from you, the citizens, and we're going to do what the citizens want to do, and we want our vision to come forward, not some developers to come forward. So we're going to tackle it a little different, and we're going to have smaller developers work on that site and not one big developer do it. The completion of the Northwest Rail Line is very important. I work down south and I see the trains go by every day, and I think of all the tax dollars that the citizens have paid up here for fast tracks, and we've seen absolutely nothing. And it's time that we got our share of what we've been paying for. We're working hard with RTD. We hope that you're giving input to those meetings that they've had, that we want our rail up here. And that will be a major interest. And I'm out of time.
You actually have sorry, you're up. Pass that on down to Bob, whatever Bob go first. Bob, please explain what you would do differently as mayor to implement your visions than you have as a city councilman.
Great question. I'd smile more. You know, one of the things that the mayor does is conduct the meetings and allows for discussion among the fellow council people. I think there's some things, though, we need to be doing differently, and so one of the things I would take to the council as the new one is put together is looking at the way we do business and see if there is another way that we can improve those communications. And so I would like to shake up what we're doing a little bit and see if we can get 4 votes to look at a new way of doing that. And so I think the mayor can bring to the council a new leadership process that will allow us to serve the community better than we're doing right now.
I would pretty much follow along the same lines that we're doing now. I believe that the city of Westminster has one of the best mayors, if not the best mayor, in that lead position right now, and that's Nancy McNally. Respect her just totally. I think she has done great things for this city, and whoever wins this election will follow in some very big footsteps, and I would hope that I could carry on what Nancy has done for this city. I think that the leadership role is very different than on the council. I did it for 4 years on the school board, and you become the point where you make sure that all the input is given from council, that everybody has the opportunity to give their input, that we're not crossing any lines and not having people squelch discussion when we need it. And during our strategic planning, during our study sessions is that time for council. And before I got on council, I had heard that it comes to vote for, and that's when discussion stopped. And a lot of times now, since I've been on council and the way Nancy runs it, is that everybody has the opportunity to talk, and it may be the 5th or 6th person down the line that brings up something different, and it sparks some idea or something different, and it's all talked about again, and it may change the direction of what you were originally going. So I think it's very, very important that we hear from all of us all the time and make sure that we have a robust discussion in city council chambers, but also through the citizenship too.
Repeat it one time, Mark.
You get it. What would you do differently as mayor to implement your vision for the city than you've been able to as a city council?
I think the difference would be from where people perceive the city, how you represent the city. I think that one of the things that I want to see change is what I hear from the people who are going to make those investments in the city from a business standpoint. We hear a lot of complaints about the processes that they have to go through compared to other municipalities in getting building permits, getting plans approved. I'd like to see us go back and take another look at that, which we did a few years ago, but because of what's coming into the city, we started a process where you can pay for expedited reviews. Well, now today, everybody's paying for expedited reviews, so there's not an expedited. We've got to look at making things attractive. Now, I'm not saying we're going to give up anything, but we have to find a way to make it more attractive for people to come here and invest. I think the background that I bring in that field will help that, but that's a decision that the council is going to have to be willing to make as a group, not a 3-4 or 4-3, but we have to all get behind it. One of the things I think we also have to look at is that when we allow civic communications in the city council chambers, I know it's different than when I served the first time, that we used to allow people who came in, and if they had an issue with a consent agenda, that they could raise that issue and ask for it to be taken off. That hasn't been in the process since I've been back. I don't understand why it was taken off, but that's okay. They still have a 5-minute communication period. But I'd like to see us make that, as Bob and Scott have both talked about, is that the communication's got to always be 2 ways. It can't be one. So we have to open that up so that if people do have a problem with something on the consent agenda, even though they're not on council, let them raise it. And then let's find out what the issue is, because they may bring up something that we did not discuss prior to that going on a consent agenda. But mostly I want to open it up to find out why people aren't willing to come and make big investments here. Most of the developers and realtors that I talk to right now will tell you that they will not steer clients to Westminster because of the perception, let me emphasize perception, that we are not business friendly. And I think we can change it.
toss the mic up and whoever catches it. Just kidding. We'll go down. All right, Scott, the next two questions are really about finances for the city. And there's some confusion. We've heard rumors of different things, and a lot of people may understand and may not understand them. So as we go through these, if each of you guys, Scott first, could explain in depth your knowledge of these subjects. The first one is explain the revenue streams for the city and how you plan to best build those, whether that be through increased taxes, reduced costs, both, any, or how.